I'm Rob G with Conectiv. I'm one of the principals. I spend my time helping customers and leading our engagements, making sure we're providing good value. I started my career in software development in the mid 90s. The technology was quite a bit different then, but it was leading edge, believe it or not. And that took me into the ERP space, which continued to take me further in the enterprise software, project management, full lifecycle implementation, and of course, more product and software development. Over the all those years, that represented multiple platforms, multiple industries, products like Salesforce, Microsoft Dynamics, NetSuite, Cornerstone On Demand. Of course, a lot of custom software development clients such as PwC, uh, projects that involved asbestos litigation, uh, healthcare, insurance companies like Blue Cross Blue Shield, and of course, construction and industrial companies. Over that time, I worked on over 100 ERP implementations, um, about $50 million in product and software development. I led all size of teams from a few people to well over 100 and all types of clients, from startups to Fortune 500 type clients. One of the other things that I was fortunate in my career to be able to do, it's not really something you sign up for. I was hired by a lot of customers along the way to do project turnarounds. So, project turnaround is when you have a failing project, such as an ERP or a software development project that is not working. And you bring somebody in to figure out why and to turn that project around. And when you're involved in those situations, which can be very, very tense, there could be legal action, there could be a lot of things going on. When you're involved in those situations, you really become an investigator to find out, how did we get here? What went wrong? What could have been done differently? But most importantly, how to get it right. And obviously, that's not how you want to run a project, but being exposed to that, having that experience has really brought a lot of value to customers over the years, combined with the other experience that I had. Uh, and with Conectiv, we're fortunate to be working in an industry that very much needs our services, that we can take all this experience, scale it down to the 100 annual, 100 million annual revenue and less is really where we like to focus and bring that caliber of experience and scale to this industry to make a really big impact for them. That really excites me.
We're going to kind of go right into some questions and kind of through Conectiv. It'll be very conversational. They will both share some slides when needed. So it is clear you guys have experience, and I'm excited to kind of share that with everyone. So just to kind of start off thinking industry picture wise, from each of your perspectives and kind of combined, what are you seeing right now, I would say, at the intersection of AI, technology, and then the construction space as a whole? What's actually changing?
James, why don't you go on that one first? You've got a great perspective on that.
In the last, I say 12 to 18 months, but really it's in the last 6 to 9 months. I've fallen deep down the AI rabbit hole, right? It's all that a lot of us hear about. It's in the news every single day. There's a lot of real information out there and a lot of misinformation out there. I certainly believe it's transformative. I think this is the largest technology transformation, certainly in my lifetime, I think in many of our lifetimes. But a lot of what we hear and a lot of what we talk about is how this is transforming large enterprises, how it's transforming the tech center, how it's transforming government. Where I think the most opportunity is how this can transform small and medium-sized businesses. Because these are the companies, these are the businesses that are actually small enough and nimble enough to do something quick, right? Where there's not layers of bureaucracy. There's not mountains of work and thousands of people whose sort of mindset you have to shift. I think this is where you can actually do something quick, but it's also where there's the least amount of service going into helping companies figure out how to do it. So it's sort of this weird space where you can go into large enterprises, and I've done some consulting work with these types of companies where they have the resources, but trying to get something done is like moving mountains. And what I find so interesting and exciting is in smaller organizations, the amount of change that you can do now in literally days. I mean, I've days, weeks, months, not quarters and years is phenomenal. And I believe now for years that construction, utilities, logistics, these spaces have been underserved by technology and software. Right? I mean, we all know, I think this is an area that's slow to adopt, and has been underserved for a long time now. And the ability to do things fast has just exploded in the last 6 months. That's what we're here to talk about. That's what we're here to do.
Yeah, I would add to that, James. And this is not a new problem, but it seems like it's become magnified with speed as a key word. Everything is really sped up, especially in the construction space. Everybody, the customer's customer, everybody needs everything now. It's got to be fast. But the big problem that gets magnified with that is the core solutions. What I mean by core solution is the ERPs, project management, the crew times, all that stuff that they use every day. All of those solutions have gaps. And they're not designed to close those gaps. And when I say gaps, the stuff we see, it's like our customer, it's the customer's customer puts a requirement on them that solution will not solve. Time entry requirement, a billing requirement, a workflow requirement, and it starts in the field, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger the closer it comes to the office.
Yeah.
And
so, sorry, sorry to
no, go ahead.
About it for a second. So I think, in maybe to make that a little bit more real, is talking about, you can take something like time entry as an example, and that's something that many systems out there, everyone's got a slightly unique approach to that. Everyone's got a slightly different way of doing that. And this is an example of a place where we've gone into an organization and built out and looked at what they got, looked at what their ERP solution offered, looked at what their existing platforms offered, recognized that with them that there was a gap, and able to say, we can help you close that gap, not in a massively expensive large build out, but in something that can be done in I don't remember how long it was, month, 2 months. And so that's where I just kind of show an example here, and as we speak to it, right? But build out a time management platform that is tailored to your business and how it works. And to me, this is where this space is changing. I think, Rob, especially in the ERP space, and I've done a little bit of that, not nearly as much as you. For the longest time, we were all trained down this path of you do a build buy analysis, right? Or you do a build or buy or make buy analysis, and it was for the last 20 years, it's always been, the guidance was always, you should try and see if you can buy it before you can build it, and when you buy it, it should always be, can you configure this before you customize it? I mean, that's been the status quo now for quite a while, because to go and customize it it's expensive. There's an upfront cost to customize it, or build it yourself, and then there's a long tail maintenance cost to do that. And what's transformed over the last year, not in every case. I mean, there's still a lot of good reasons to buy software. I mean, this isn't sort of the the argument that you don't buy software off the shelf anymore. But I feel like the calculus of that has changed to where it's not as cut and dry now as it was even a year ago. Um, and you see that in the markets, right? You actually see this in valuation of software companies, valuation of CRM companies. This is not the time to have Salesforce stock, right? I mean, it's down, I think, 35% for the year. I'm sorry if you have Salesforce stock, but this isn't the time. Uh, because unless you're leveraging every single piece of that software to its fullest, it's now become really easy to say, I don't need to settle for the 80% solution anymore. I can actually get the 99% fit for my business, and I can get there in a couple months. I can get there sometimes in a couple weeks, and that's the sort of thing that we've been doing, right? If you're a Fortune 500 company, you probably need SAP or Oracle or one of these solutions. If you're a small and medium business with a highly tailored workflow, absolutely, you need the right tool to be your accounting platform, 100%. But when you're doing time entry, and this is the thing, when you're doing your project management, your project checklists, there are things that are highly tailored to your business that now I think that build buy decision is just a different decision than it was a year ago. And that's sort of the space that we're trying to dig into and explore.
Yeah.
Going on to that.
Oh,
real quick.
sorry. I was just gonna make a point here. We're looking at companies generally that are 100 million annual revenue and less. That's generally the space we're working at. And those OpsEdge is a product we've developed. So it's a product IP that Conectiv owns that we've developed. We worked with several customers to be able to do that, bring it to market. But what they were doing before was Excel. So it was Excel. It didn't scale. It involved a lot of people, a lot of error, a lot of rework, and that builds up. And then what happens? It starts affecting operations. And it's not like they have long windows of time to turn around the work they're doing to get paid. And then ultimately that affects cash flow. So it's very, very impactful, that product that we've delivered for those customers. It's had amazing impact in their operation. In every case, there's been significant growth because they could scale greater than what they were. They didn't have those boundaries. Sorry, go ahead, Gabby.
That's okay. So you guys have already kind of touched on some of the gaps that are in the industry, and I would love to kind of give everyone that's here, a deeper understanding on really what's unique about Conectiv's approach, all the way from scoping to designing the build and just really rolling out that solution. Can you give everyone kind of an understanding into, the actual solutions that you guys have built out? And I know it's very customer specific, but, the types of problems, kind of just walk through that if you could.
Well, I'll start with the unique aspect of what's different about us. Why us over another firm? And I think it really comes down to three key points. Number one, we're hands-on. James and I and the team understand the industry, and we work directly with our customers. So from a practitioner standpoint, that's what they get. They're not getting a team that doesn't understand the industry. They're not getting a team that they're getting a team that has a lot of experience, that knows how to execute very, very quickly. And the other thing that's really important that we've noticed is we don't show up wearing a software vendor badge. We're not beholden to any software company. We're beholden to helping the customer get the solution they need, whichever path that takes us. And the last item I'll just mention, James, and I'll kick it over to you, is in this industry, the word friction is used a lot. And it seems like at every stage, there's friction. And friction can mean different things. But in the way I'm using it is working with us is very, very low friction starting day one. We engage quickly, we deliver quickly, we understand the industry, we've seen it before, and we know how to tailor ourselves and our solution to be able to solve a customer problem. So those are the things I would say are unique about us. James, what would you add to that? Or um,
Yeah. Well, I think as the CTO, I agree 100% with everything you said. I'll take it to the technology side. As I've said, and I don't want to be a broken record, but I believe it so strongly that I'll reiterate on it. AI is transformative. It's changed the game, and it's really in sort of three key ways, right? One, uh, I absolutely believe that it's going to change the way that we work, right? That all of us. I mean, it's already changing the way that we work. It's being incorporated into businesses, and so one is being able to help and understand how it specifically can incorporate into a business. What can it do? And this is something we're very good at, is figuring out how it incorporates into a business and where it can help and where it's not going to help, because it doesn't do everything, right? This isn't
right.
there's a reality check we've got to do here, that there are certain things it does not do. There are many things it does not do. So that's one. The second is how AI accelerates software development. And that is a 100%. There's no question. There's no what can it not do here. Um, AI makes software development go anywhere from 10 to 100 times faster. And I say that sounds a little bit hard to believe, but I actually had this scenario pop up about a month ago where we had an estimate on something, and it was one feature in one platform where a vendor had quoted 2,500 hours to build out a software feature, and we built it in 25. So 100 times faster. And that is 100%. It's not, I mean, there's knowledge of how to use AI, but this was 100% because of AI-based software development. So AI-based software development has changed the game, and it's something that we're very good at. We have some relationships and partnerships in place with some thought leaders in this space that let us really understand how this works.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third is the ability to incorporate AI into products. You can do some really neat things with the AI tooling itself. So I think as a differentiator, that's what makes us very unique in this space. We're not out selling AI products. So when you look at what we deliver, Rob mentioned OpsEdge, which is sort of a foundational tooling that we use as the backbone for a lot of the things we deliver. And we will take that and then we'll tailor it and customize it into a client's environment. It's not an AI tool in and of itself. You're not going to open it up and see a lot of software out there right now that says it's AI enabled. Is you basically open it up and it's got a little chat widget in there that most of the times doesn't actually do anything. That's not what we're doing, right? It's that behind the scenes, as an example, behind the scenes, anytime you load up a PDF work order, it's going to try and read that work order. And if it can't parse the work order, then it's going to send it over to an AI agent to say, read this work order and extract all the right information. Because we've all used ChatGPT, at least many of us have used ChatGPT and know that it can extract all the data out of there. And so that's a lot of the types of stuff we're doing is we're using it behind the scenes. We're using it intelligently. We're not just slapping the label on it. And I think that's a lot of the types of things you see with us that will help deliver intelligent products out into the field, is really kind of smart uses of the technology. And yeah, I think that's a lot of what makes it different. And I think, some of the specific examples, because I think your question was what types of things are we doing for folks. So to make it real, examples of the kinds of things. And again, I'm gonna bring up a few. We pulled out a few examples. I'm not going to run through demos or anything. This isn't the time for that, I know, but to just give a little bit of an overview, and we can um, speak into these, more depending on what we end up talking about. But some of the neat things, some of my favorite projects over the last couple months here, um, we built this tool that safety training videos that allows you to dynamically generate safety train, branded, complete safety training videos on demand. So everyone needs them. Everyone needs sort of training and safety management, but the ability to create from going online. I think this one was ladder safety, but to go online and say, I need a ladder safety. I need a ladder safety toolbox talk, and generates an OSHA compliant, ladder safety training, and to spit that out in 5 minutes or less, it creates this fully branded video that's got your brand. In this case, it's got ours, but it's got your branding. It's delivered in English, Spanish, any other language you want. It's ready. It's available. It meets all your training requirements. It's got, slides. It's got closed captioning. It's all of that. And that's created on demand, and it's refreshed anytime the codes update. All that's refreshed. We built that as a solution. We built
James,
an AI.
hey, James,
Yeah,
uh, several years ago, we uh, we had a customer
yeah.
that
The inspiration for this tool, right?
that that we did this project for a large customer, and they had $1 million budget to build these construction safety training videos. And it took, if I remember correctly, there was uh, there was an outside firm who did the language translation. There was an outside consultant that helped with some of the video creation, and there was an internal team.
Employee that managed the library.
Yeah, it again $1 million budget. It was a very large project, and that was just one component of the project development project we were working on. But this goes back, Gabby, to your earlier point about the trends we're seeing. I mean,
Mhm.
something a few years ago that took $1 million budget that now can be done in a less than an hour. Oh, all in. Like I say, deliver it to a customer is what I mean by that, James. When I say less than an hour, customer ready. Um, it it's quite a shift.
Yeah. No, that's
And
perfect. I think
it,
that's a great thank you for tying that back, because that was one of the things we were talking about, is just that transformation um is another example, but 100x or more uh
you know,
increase, both reduction in cost but also reduction in time, because this was so much work. I think
yeah,
what was so challenging in that project, and this customer was trying to build, they were building their own library, which they were going to license out, because that's how it was done, right? You built the library and then you licensed it out to folks and all that. And it was almost like the moment they finished, it's time for a code update, and they got to go do it all over again.
yes,
And the idea that there's problems that were almost unsolvable, or really that someone else had to solve it and then you pay them, and this was the whole build buy challenge, that are now almost trivial. And I think there's a lot of folks out there who don't quite realize that the problem has become trivial yet. And I think that, to me, is the most interesting, sometimes the most fun part of this is people don't just if you're not sort of living and breathing this space, not realizing what's become possible at what cost or what time frame over the last year. And those are the conversations that are a lot of fun. That's where I think
yes,
combining the industry knowledge, so the fact that Rob and I have been in the space doing it. I mean, actually, I've not, I don't build buildings or homes, but I've spent a lot of time on job sites. Rob has as well. We work with our customers. We understand enough about the space to get what works, and so to be able to pair that knowledge of how the industry works with what the technology is making possible, let some really, really interesting and fun solutions come alive.
Why don't we uh, why don't we talk about work order management? That that is a frequent topic of discussion for a lot of
Yeah.
services firms.
Yeah, go for it. Why don't you wanna start and I'll I'll take it from there.
Yeah. So again, this is one of those areas where the core systems in place just really don't do a good job of managing the end-to-end process. Of course, ERPs and project management solutions may be able to do work orders, but when you think about how does it start, if you're a field services based company, that work order is typically actually handed over in paper format from the energy company, for example, to a super or GF, general foreman. So you start with this. Sorry, trying to pull a piece of paper up there. You start with a piece of paper. There is a series of steps you got to go through, and all of those steps involve phone calls, text, Excel, paper, emails, and ultimately that ends up in Excel. That's the only way they can manage this process. It's the only way that makes sense. And the final billing is what ends up in the ERP. Because again, the ERP isn't designed to do all of that other stuff. And in this example, we built a complete end-to-end work order management system in OpsEdge that works with the other components that we built out that allow them to take that paper-based process and go to a complete digital process through every phase of the life cycle of that work order. So James, I'll kick it over to you with that setup.
Yeah. Well, and I think that the solution in that case was, I mean, this was a larger effort in the grand scheme of things, but it was still uh, fairly straightforward. I mean, there's a component here which is interacting with the customer system, right? So we're pulling in work orders and updating data, pulling in inventory, from their SAP. In this case, was an SAP platform. We're pulling in inventory data. We're pulling in work order data. We're routing that to a scheduling, essentially what amounts to a scheduling and dispatch tool that's managing that and kind of coordinating it through the whole workflow. So in this case, um, you got to coordinate the 811 request. You've got to coordinate material ordering. You've got to coordinate delivery out to the job site, kind of a job site pre-check, all of those things being managed through the system, and then ultimately getting a digital work order packet out to the foreman, in this case, a foreman's tablet, so that they're able to get out on site. They're able to see, we can see it on here, basically see the sketch up on their screen. They're able to annotate it, mark it up, submit their time, take photos of the job site, submit everything back. But really what this came down to is kind of real-time coordination of what's going on in the field, right? Being able to see exactly what's going on, be able to get data back in real time, not lose data, not lose sketches, not lose, a lot of times at the end of the day, this marked up sketch really is the deliverable, right? If you don't have that, you can't prove what you did. You can't, in some cases, you can't charge for what you did.
You don't get paid.
You don't get paid. So
Yeah.
making sure you've got it, making sure you're able to, I mean, being able to submit that within 5 minutes of the work being done accelerates your time to collect. So all of that is a plus. Being able to go and manage and schedule your teams out in the field was a big plus, right? So you could go and reroute and reschedule teams on the fly. So if one crew finished up something early, and you wanted to go and kind of dynamically reschedule them based on who's available, who called out sick, what's going on. You couldn't get a power shut off for the day. All of that stuff becomes sort of one dashboard for the super to look at and see what's going on and make changes on the fly, or never needing to deal with an expired locate. All of that stuff being sort of right there on a dashboard just changed kind of the operational tempo of this company, and they did it kind of as they were growing and growing pretty quick, but they did it being able to not hire superintendents. And the plan had been they were growing quick. They were not able to keep track of a lot of this data. They were going to hire more superintendents, and still dealing with a lot of these things that were sort of eating away at their operating efficiency, ultimately eating away at their margins. And it's fixing a lot of those problems while also not having to grow, the both the supers, which I guess, and I hesitate to call them a back office team because they're not, and they'd probably shoot me if I ever did, but not having to kind of grow, ultimately the overhead side of the business, not having to add more billers, not having to add schedulers, not having to add, locating coordinators, all of that. Was fundamentally, I mean, this is just straight margin being added back into the business. So
Yeah.
this felt like a major success for everyone kind of involved in this particular project.
A great use case. We probably have time for one more. I think this is one of your favorites, James. The AI onboarding.
Yeah. So similar type of thing, right? I think that growing company, the just the sheer complexity, and I guess at some level, I'd never been responsible for onboarding a large number of people, especially in a short amount of time. So I'd never paid attention to what has to go into that process of uh, coordinating, the decision to hire and managing background checks and drug tests and insurance checks and ordering equipment and getting credit cards. And I guess as a CTO, I've certainly handled the IT side of setting people up. That part I'm well familiar with. But all of that work and trying to manage it, and then people drop out of the process, or people get rejected out of the process, or people don't follow through, and you're trying to get them on board very quickly. And so we had a company where this was consuming pretty much all of one person's time and a lot of headache and heartache from the leadership team. And it
Kept
really
growing.
was they kept, yeah, they kept growing, and it was really that it was, one person's full-time job, but also that leadership kept getting distracted by it, and it was death by a thousand cuts. And this was a true AI. I mean, this one was probably one of the most explicitly AI based solutions that we've put forward, um, because it really did put, one more time here, it really did put an AI agent into it. So from the outside, it's a dashboard that's showing where people are in the process, and that they're going through an offer letter, a screening, that they're being entered into. They're being entered into Acumatica, they're getting their screening documents. All of that stuff is happening as they work through the process. But behind the scenes, it's an AI agent with a mailbox. It's handling this. And so these candidates, unlike the really expensive, and honestly, I feel like very clunky HR onboarding sites and tools that you got out there, this was a mailbox, a name, right? It actually was given a name within the company that was emailing these folks using, generative AI. We've all seen, I think, probably at this point, seen Claude or ChatGPT write a draft email. This did it better. It doesn't sound quite as robotic, but it's writing them an email saying, congratulations, here's your offer letter. These are the things I need to get back from you. And if they don't respond within a couple days, it sends them another one saying, hey, I really need you to do this. And as soon as they respond, the agent goes and schedules their drug, it schedules their drug test and sends them back the link saying, here's, or, it orders up their drug test, sends them a link saying, hey, need you to go to this website and sign up and go in and do a drug test, and manages the whole process. And at any point, the candidate can email that agent and say, hey, I lost my link. Can you send it back to me? Or I'm not going to be able to get to it in 3 days. Can I get an extension or all that stuff? And for the most part, if it's a standard type request, it's just an AI agent responding and driving the candidate through this process to the end. Sometimes, sometimes it'll flag it up saying that something is blocked or escalated and needs a human attention. But for the most part, it's just driving them through the onboarding process and automating that whole thing in a way where the new candidate, the new employee, in many respects, I mean, it does say in the email signature that this is an automated onboarding assistant. So we're not trying to lie and pretend that it's a human, but outside of that, in many respects, they're not realizing that they're dealing with an agent. So this one was, I think a lot of them, because this is what a lot of folks think about when they think building an AI agent, and in this case, it truly was that. Not all solutions are, but this one was right in there. And again, it's real world directly about how do we save time in a way that you can kind of directly measure the dollars and hours that are being injected back into the business.
Yeah, and that's really the bottom line with what we do. Is we save our customers time, we save them a tremendous amount of money, and we make their life a lot better across the board. So those are great examples of some of our body of work. Gabby, where do you want to take us next?
Yeah, thank you both. That my mind's spinning with some of our customers in Gate. So I know there's an unlimited level of things that we could all use to save money in this industry and prices, and there's so many options out there. I want to get to questions, but to kind of do more kind of closing question before we has questions, start to think of them, feel free to put in the chat. But for those companies that are listening now, right, when they see this later on as well, you can feel stuck in current processes and systems. And there's so many options out there today. And I know a lot did that they're that plug and play, right, that anybody do them. So what would you tell the companies that just feel stuck with their current systems, but also don't really know the capabilities that are out there, a partner like you guys, right, that know what you have vast experience? What would you tell them? They're stuck right now. They're not really sure where to go. Just any advice you have for them?
Well, I would first say there's hope. There's good news, because AI based software development can absolutely help them, as what we've indicated today. The other thing is that it's surprisingly very affordable. That's what really is. It's lowered the bar for these companies that are 100 million annual revenue and less. It's just really opened the door. Some of the examples that James showed us, those are very affordable solutions that we've delivered for these customers. And we typically work in a fixed fee fashion, so there's not surprises, and we engage very quickly. But maybe the thing I want to leave with on this point is that kind of an analogy. In the commercial construction space, I think probably one of the most highly coveted types of awarded bids are data center right now. Data center work is hot. And the analogy would be, James and I look at that market and we say, hey, let's go become a specialty trade and let's go do data center work. And we have zero experience with that. There's a lot of opportunity, but we don't have the experience or background to do that type of work. And so it's kind of the same thing for construction firms. They see all the hype, And it's like, hey, we could go build that. But you got to stop and think about James and I probably have almost 60 years combined experience with what we've done. And it's not just what I've done, what James has done. We've led dozens and I mean, I couldn't tell you the number of people, the number of teams in each of our backgrounds, the number of clients. Some of the work I've done was one was for one of the big four consulting firms, a large software development project. And so with all of that comes a lot of experience of how to execute this properly, quickly, efficiently, and most importantly, cost effective. So that would be my advice. We're happy to talk to people if they just want to say, is something possible? We can give you advice. We can help point you in the right direction, or we can help you if you want us to help you. James, anything you want to add to that?
I think you said a lot of what I would say. You know, I think it's more accessible than you might think. It's faster in many cases than you might think. Um, I what one of the things that I find myself asking companies or people these days that are having some challenge. I mean, at the end of the day, if the business is fine, I would still say there's opportunity, right? I mean, every business has an opportunity to be doing more or doing better. But if there is a challenge, um, and there's a part of you that knows that there's automation or data or a system that can fix it or help with it. And I think everyone knows what that means without going into all the details. I mean, there's some cases where hey, that my problem is people, right? Well, AI probably can't solve that yet. But if you have some intuitive belief that this is the right space, the speed at which you can at least get a handle on the problem is amazing. You know, we used to go in, and I spent a long time as a consultant or as an advisor, uh, making a lot of money doing, just figuring out what the problem was. And that discovery process is I mean, there's still a piece to it, right? I mean, it's not nothing, but it's compressed so much because the reality of the world now is you basically turn your agents loose on the problem and say, tell me what's going on here, and you'll get an answer back in a stunningly short period of time. And so I think that getting started and figuring out at least what the lay of the land is so much easier than it was before. So that's what I would add to what Rob said, which I think is really in line with what Rob said.
Thank you both for that. I agree to every point. We have a question come in that said, what kind of platforms works with Conectiv? And obviously, we dominate, specific to Acumatica. Could you kind of expand a little bit on other platforms?
Sure. So in the ERP space, our playing field is really any product that has open APIs. So when you think about ERP, when you think the same applies to project management or other line of business applications. So a lot of these products we've worked with before and we understand the product. That's where the years of ERP experience really benefit our customers because ERP is complex, it's workflow driven, it's bound by accounting decisions. And so you've got to know how to navigate your way through all of that process.
Awesome.
I don't know that I would have a lot to add to that one. I would agree. I think as long as you can talk to it, as long as it allows you to talk to it, I think we can work with it.
And then I would love to just kind of hear if anyone has any other questions, feel free to send in. Obviously, time savings budget savings, headcount for companies as well. Are there any specific results that you've seen with various clients that you think would be, something that we should really take into note or just think about, that stands out to you most over the projects you've done?
In 100% of the cases, every customer from the time we started with them to where they are today, they have grown by a large factor. And we're not attributing all of that to us, but what we've done is we have untangled them from all of these constraints that they had. Because when you build manual processes, what happens? You've got a base process, you build on top of that, you build on top of that, you build on top of that. And eventually it just becomes unwieldy and you can't scale it any further. And I know I'm not gonna name names, but I know in one case, after we delivered the solution, the customer went back to their primary customer they do business with, asked for more work, and they got it. And boys have been coming. We've had several improvements in other projects we've helped them with because of that growth. And that's just fantastic to see that. And the customers, they're hungry for somebody that can actually help them. Not bring the friction, not we speak operations language, not technology language. So it's easy to talk to us, it's easy to work with us.
Awesome. I do have one more interesting question at the end. Based on the clients you've worked with and the solutions you've built, is there one that comes to mind that would have been the most unique in your mind? There's the problems that everybody has or most companies struggle with. Is there something that comes to mind that was more of a unique solution, that, both of your expertise really helped to build that and produce that for somebody?
Oh gosh. I think a lot of them fall into that category because a lot of times, these come out of gaps that can't be solved any other way. But I would say if I had to pick one, I would say our OpsEdge crew time product. It did so much for the first customer. It was just unbelievable. And I think that really left a big impression on us on why we do what we do.
Awesome. Well, I don't think there's any more questions coming in. I will put up now some contact information if interested or would just like to start, discussing anything, with the Conectiv team. How would you best recommend they go about that process?
Go to our website, www.conectiv.tech. Go to LinkedIn, and you'll notice Conectiv is Conectiv. It's a unique spelling. And I've got my contact information out there, robg@conectiv.tech or 469-489-1490. Feel free to reach out to me. Be happy to talk to you. James and I can both jump on with you and see what we can do to help you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for your time. For everybody that was here, thank you. We appreciate it. We've got some upcoming webinars and walkthroughs coming up. So just follow us on our socials to see those. And thank you both, Rob and James, so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you.
Take care.